Hello, and thank you for joining us. Democrats on the House Oversight Committee have released a new batch of photos from the estate of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Some of the images depict prominent public figures, including President Trump, former President Bill Clinton, Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, formerly known as Prince Andrew, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, and more. None of the men have been formally accused or convicted of criminal wrongdoing related to Epstein. So far, Democrats have only released 19 out of thousands of images from the estate. Congressman Robert Garcia, the top Democrat on the Oversight Committee, says the photos are part of a larger search for answers.
These photos were basically in the possession of the Epstein estate. And so that includes pictures that maybe were sent to Epstein. Perhaps he took himself. We know there's some that he took himself, that others took. And obviously, there are photos of powerful men and folks that we want to have an opportunity to speak with and ask questions of.
CBS News Justice Department reporter Jake Rosen joins us now. Jake, what can you tell us about these photos, where they came from, and what new information you're getting?
Well, Lindsay, these are 19 photos published by Democrats on the House Oversight Committee that's currently investigating the handling of both the Department of Justice investigations into Jeffrey Epstein and his co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell, but also overseeing what the Jeffrey Epstein estate still has in its possession that could be useful for any valuable public information. This is just 19 of 95,000 pictures that have been submitted as part of this wide-ranging subpoena into the Epstein estate. These are pictures, some of which have been in the public sphere for some time. Some are different angles of various parties we've known existed before. They include people like Bill Gates, Richard Branson, Prince Andrew, all hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein at different houses and properties he owns, in addition to former President Bill Clinton, President Donald Trump. There's no incriminating information or activities in these pictures, but what we do know, Lindsay, is that this reaffirms the pressure that's going to happen in the next week or so, as the Department of Justice is due to hand over thousands, potentially, if not tens of thousands of documents, but also a reminder of how many documents are simply in the hands of Congress that have not been released. We've heard the House side, the Republican side of this committee, saying that Democrats have selectively cherry-picked a lot of this information, picking just the pictures that show President Trump and prominent political figures, and they say that there are more to come when they choose to release it. But what we see now is a move by Democrats to kind of amp up this pressure on the president.
Where does the process stand to release all the files?
Well, by next Friday, the Department of Justice, according to this law signed by President Trump and put into the congressional legislature, is really built around making sure that all the different information from many different investigations is put in one searchable file for the public to look after and look into. It's going to be tens of thousands of searchable files, ranging from grand jury transcripts to interviews with potential witnesses, all with victims' name redacted. We don't know exactly what happens with some of these unsealing motions and grand jury testimonies, whether those will be in there or not, but we know that the Department of Justice has thousands of files that they're going to have to deliver to the American public by the end of next week, so that they can look through and see if there's any new information that actually brings to light either potential incriminating information that we don't already know, or potentially information that exonerates some people who conspiracy theorists and public figures have cast doubt on, mainly President Trump, his allies, and a lot of prominent Democrats who were associated with Jeffrey Epstein.
Jake Rosen, thank you. Let's bring in CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cortez. Nancy, how is the White House responding?
Lindsay, they've put out a statement saying that House Democrats here are selectively releasing cherry-picked photos with random redactions to try and create a false narrative. Essentially, what they're saying is that these photos of President Trump in the vicinity of Jeffrey Epstein are old and are from before the time that Epstein was even charged with any kind of crime. And they note that there are plenty of Democrats, and they list them, who continue to maintain contact with Epstein, even solicit donations from him after it was clear that he was accused of being a sex offender. And they go on to say that the Trump administration has done more for Epstein's victims than Democrats ever have. And of course, we're waiting to see, as Jake mentioned, what the release of the Epstein files looks like by that deadline next Friday, so we can determine just how transparent they've decided to be.
How has this become a political problem for the president?
Well, on one hand, he's been arguing that he has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein, at least hasn't in the last decade and a half or so. But he continues to point to Democrats who were close to Epstein. He's even encouraged the House to investigate those Democrats. By and large, however, he's kind of fallen silent on the issue. He doesn't like to be asked about it, but when pressed, he will say that he had a falling out with Epstein in the early 2000s and simply wasn't in touch with him any longer by the time these crimes came to light.
All right, Nancy Cortez, thank you.